Fixed her car before her blind date. Then she asked me to be her date. I knew something was wrong the second I heard the engine knock. The 1971 Mercedes 280 SL sat under the bright lights of my shop in Cedar Ridge, New Jersey, its hood open like it was trying to confess a secret. The car smelled like old leather and gasoline, the kind of scent that collectors called charm. Tonight it smelled like trouble. I had been kneeling beside the engine for almost 20 minutes, listening carefully, feeling the heat rise into my arms, trying to match the sound to something normal. It wasn't normal, it was dying. Behind me I heard heels on concrete. I did not need to turn around to know it was Elena Harper. She carried this quiet pressure with her, like the air changed when she stepped into a room. Calm on the outside, tight underneath. I stood slowly and wiped my hands on a rag before looking at her. She was dressed for somewhere important. White blouse, dark skirt, hair tucked neatly behind one ear. Everything about her looked composed, except her hands. Her fingers kept touching the clasp of her small purse over and over. "It's not going to make it, is it?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "Fuel pump relay's gone. If you try to drive it into town, it'll die on Route 9. She looked down at the floor. Not dramatic, not angry, just tired. "I have a blind date in 40 minutes, she said, glancing at her phone when it buzzed again. Julian set it up. The name felt heavy in the room. I knew Julian Carter. Everyone in Cedar Ridge did. Investment firm, board meetings, perfect suits, perfect smile. The kind of man who liked to arrange other people's lives like they were calendar entries. Her phone buzzed again. "If I don't show," she said quietly, "he'll have something to say about it tomorrow." She did not explain what that meant. She did not have to. I could hear the fear in the way she breathed. Shallow. Careful. Like she was already bracing for judgment. I stepped back from the car and looked at her directly. "I'm not letting you get stranded," I said. She let out a tight breath. "So I'm stuck," quote. I nodded toward the corner of the shop. My 1978 Ford F-150 sat there, freshly restored, clean chrome, deep blue paint, reliable. "I've got a truck," I said. "I'll drive you." From the office, my younger brother Leo leaned out with half a sandwich in his hand. He took one look at Elena and then at me and grinned. "Take her, Cain," he said. "You've been glaring at that car like it insulted your mother." I shot him a look. He disappeared, laughing. Elena stared at her phone again. "He just texted," she muttered. "Hope the mechanic didn't slow you down." The way she said mechanic felt like it carried someone else's voice inside it, like it had been said before, with a smirk. I did not respond to that. Instead, I washed my hands, scrubbing away grease with orange soap until the water ran clear. When I stepped back into the bay, she was standing near the open garage door looking out at the early autumn dusk. A gust of wind pushed leaves across the pavement. She rubbed her arms. I grabbed my clean flannel shirt from the hook and held it out to her. "It's cold," I said. She hesitated. Then she slipped it on. The shirt swallowed her frame. She pulled it close and inhaled softly. "It smells like cedar," she said. "And oil," I replied. She smiled faintly. The truck started with a low rumble. I adjusted the passenger seat without making a show of it. She noticed anyway. Her shoulders relaxed a little. We drove in silence at first. Trees lined the road, leaves turning gold and red under the fading light. After a few minutes, she spoke. "You know what's funny?" she said. "I don't even want to go." "Then don't." "It's not that simple." Her phone buzzed again. She did not answer it. At the red light near the edge of town, she stared straight ahead. "The car's broken," she said lightly. "So if I cancel, will you be my date?" My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "You're dressed for a fundraiser," I said carefully. "And you're dressed for an engine bay," she replied with a small smile. "We'll survive." There was something different in her tone, not playful, not desperate, curious. Instead of turning toward the downtown bistro where her blind date waited, I made a clean U-turn. She noticed. "Where are we going?" she asked. "I know a place," I said. "Small, real." She did not argue. Sal's diner sat on the edge of town, tucked behind old oak trees, vinyl booths, neon signs, fries too hot to hold. No one cared who you were inside those walls. We walked in together. She kept my flannel wrapped around her shoulders like armor. We slid into a booth by the window. The waitress brought burgers and milkshakes without asking questions. Elena dipped a fry into her shake and shook her head. "This is criminal," she said. "You ordered it." She smiled wider this time. For a moment she looked younger, lighter. Then the bell above the diner door rang. I felt the shift before I saw him. Julian Carter stepped inside. Tailored coat, polished shoes, perfect posture. His eyes landed on Elena immediately. "There you are," he said loudly. He looked at me next. His gaze dropped to my work-worn hands, my gray t-shirt, my boots. His mouth twitched. "I was worried the car trouble was serious," he said, "and this must be the mechanic." Elena's voice went cold. "Cain gave me a ride." The way she said it carried something firm. Julian leaned closer to the table, too close. "Don't forget the board meeting tomorrow," he said smoothly. "Reliability matters." My jaw tightened, but I stayed calm. He reached toward the table just as his elbow tipped a glass. Water slid toward Elena's white blouse. I caught the glass before it spilled. Set it down without a word. Julian blinked. For the first time, he looked unsure. He muttered something about being careful and stepped back. When he walked away, Elena leaned slightly toward me. Not dramatic, just enough to choose a side. Her phone buzzed again on the table. She looked at it. Then she turned it face down. And for the first time that night, she looked at me like I wasn't just the mechanic who fixed her car. We stayed quiet after Julian left, but it was not the heavy kind of silence. It felt different now, like something had shifted and neither of us wanted to rush it. Elena picked up another fry, but she did not eat it. She just held it between her fingers and stared at the table. "I didn't expect you to do that," she said finally. "Do what?" "Stand up to him. Most people don't." I leaned back against the booth. "He was about to spill water on you." She gave me a look that said she knew it was more than that. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't even glance at it this time. She slid it into her purse and let it stay there. "I'm tired of feeling like I owe him something," she said quietly. "Like if I don't show up exactly how he wants, I'm failing." "You don't owe him anything," I said. She looked at me then, really looked at me, not through me. "Not past me. You make it sound simple." "It is simple," I replied. "It's just not easy." For a moment her eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen before. No guarded expression. No careful posture. Just Elena. We finished eating slowly. She laughed once when I burned my mouth on a fry and tried to pretend I was fine. It was the first real laugh I had heard from her all night. It stayed with me. When we walked back outside, the air had turned colder. The sky was dark now, streetlights glowing against the damp pavement. She pulled my flannel tighter around her shoulders again. "You can keep it," I said. "I'll give it back," she answered softly. "I promise." The drive to her apartment was quiet, but not awkward. The heater hummed. The windshield wipers moved slow and steady. When we reached her building, I parked at the curb and turned off the engine. She didn't move right away. "I don't know why he gets inside my head like that," she said, staring at the dashboard. "I'm not weak." "I never said you were." She swallowed. "He makes it sound like I can't handle things on my own." "You handled tonight," I said. "You chose where you wanted to be." She turned toward me slowly. "And you?" she asked. "Why are you doing this? Why are you helping me?" "Because I care about you," wanted to come out of my mouth. Instead, I said, "Because you deserve better." She blinked like she hadn't expected that answer. For a second, neither of us breathed. Then she opened the door and stepped out. "Good night, Cain," she said. "Call me if you need anything." She nodded once and disappeared into the building. I waited until the light in her apartment came on before I drove away. The next few days were normal on the surface. Oil changes, engine rebuilds, customers asking about parts. But every time my phone buzzed, I looked at it, half expecting her name. On Thursday night, it finally appeared. "Elena," I answered before the second ring. "Are you okay?" I asked immediately. There was a pause on the other end. "I need you," she said. Her voice was tight, not controlled like usual, not calm. It sounded thin. "What happened?" "I think Julian's been following me." Everything inside me went still. "Where are you?" "At home. I'm on my way." I grabbed my keys without telling Leo anything. The drive felt longer than usual. The streets looked different at night. Narrower. Quieter. When I pulled up to her building, her lights were on. She opened the door before I could knock. She was not dressed like the woman from the diner. No white blouse. No perfect hair. She wore an oversized sweater and sweatpants. Her hair was pulled back, messy. Her eyes looked wide and restless. "Come in," she said quickly, locking the door behind me. "What's going on?" I asked. She paced once across the living room. "I've been getting calls," she said. "No one speaks." Just silence. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. "And these." She handed me a photograph. It was a picture of her walking into my shop. Taken from across the street. Another one showed her outside the diner. My jaw tightened. "When did these start?" I asked. "After Tuesday," she whispered. "After I didn't go to that date." I felt anger rise, but I kept my voice steady. "Did you see him?" "No, but I know it's him." She looked toward the window like she expected someone to be standing there. "He tracks everything," she said. "Where I go, who I see, what I do. He always knows." My mind went back to the Mercedes. "Did you check your car?" I asked. She froze. "What do you mean?" I stepped closer. "Sometimes guys like that put trackers on vehicles." Her face drained of color. "Cain." "We're going to check it right now," I said calmly. We walked downstairs together. The parking lot was dim, only 2 streetlights working. I knelt beside her car and ran my hand under the frame near the rear wheel. It took less than a minute. There it was, small, black, magnetic. I pulled it off and held it up. Her breath hitched. "He put that there," she whispered. "Yes." She covered her mouth with her hand. "I thought I was imagining it," she said. "I thought maybe I was being dramatic." "You're not," I said firmly. "This is real." She looked at me then, not with fear this time, but with something else. Trust. "What do we do?" she asked. "We document everything," I said. "Photos. Calls. Messages. This stops now." Her shoulders shook slightly, but she nodded. "I don't want to be afraid anymore." "You won't be," I told her. "Not alone." She stepped closer to me, not because she was scared of the dark, because she needed something steady. I didn't touch her right away. I let her choose the distance. After a second, she closed that space herself, and when she looked up at me under the weak glow of the streetlight, I knew this was no longer about a broken car. This was about protecting something that mattered. The moment she stepped closer to me in that parking lot, I felt it. Not just fear, not just anger, something deeper. Something that made me understand this was no longer about a tracker or a jealous man. It was about her safety, her peace, her freedom. I held the small black device in my hand and took pictures of it with my phone from every angle. Then I took pictures of where it had been attached under her car. "We're not guessing anymore," I said. "We're proving." She nodded, trying to stay steady. Back upstairs in her apartment, we spread everything out on the kitchen table. The photos he had slipped under her door, the call logs, the silent voicemail recordings, the tracker. She looked at it all like she was seeing her own life laid out in pieces. "I feel stupid," she whispered. "You're not," I said immediately. "Guys like him count on you feeling that way." Her eyes lifted to mine. "He always says I overreact. That I imagine things." "That's how control works," I said. "You question yourself so you don't question him." She went quiet after that. I texted Leo and asked him to pull the security footage from outside the shop. He had installed cameras last year after a break-in down the street. I told him to check the dates from Tuesday night. Within 30 minutes, he sent the files. Julian's car showed up clearly in the frame, parked across from the shop. Engine running, lights off, He had been there. Elena stared at the screen on my phone. He was watching us, she said. Yes. Her jaw tightened. Not fear this time. Anger. I'm done letting him control the story, she said. That was the first time I heard strength in her voice without hesitation. We take this to the police, I said. She hesitated for a second, then nodded. Okay. We gathered everything carefully, printed screenshots, saved recordings. The tracker sealed in a plastic bag. I could see her breathing slow and steady now. She was nervous, but she was not shrinking. The police station was quiet when we walked in. Fluorescent lights, a bored officer behind the desk, the kind of place where time moves slow. When the detective saw the evidence, his expression changed. This isn't just harassment, he said. This is stalking. Elena stood straight beside me. I want it documented, she said clearly. Everything. He took our statements, logged the evidence, asked careful questions. I stayed quiet unless she needed support. This was her fight. I was just there to make sure she didn't fight it alone. By the time we walked back out into the night air, she looked exhausted but lighter. I should have done this sooner, she said. You did it when you were ready, I answered. The next few days felt tense. Julian was called in for questioning. The police told us they would move quickly because of the tracker. Elena kept going to work. She kept her posture tall, but I could see the strain in her shoulders every time her phone buzzed. On Friday afternoon, she called me. It's official, she said. Temporary restraining order. They served him this morning. I leaned against my workbench and let out a slow breath I didn't realize I was holding. Good. He looked furious, she said quietly, but he didn't say anything. He won't, I replied. Not if he's smart. There was a pause. Cain, she said softly. Yeah. Can I come by the shop? Of course. She arrived 20 minutes later, not in business clothes this time. Jeans. Light sweater. Hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different. Not because she was dressed down. Because she wasn't carrying tension like armor. Leo noticed immediately and gave me a look before disappearing into the back. Elena walked slowly around the shop, running her fingers along the polished hood of a restored Mustang. It smells like cedar in here, she said again. And oil, I replied. She smiled. I like it. We stood facing each other near the lift. It's strange, she said. Now that it's quiet, I don't know what to do with the silence. Quote, You get used to it, I said. She stepped closer. I keep thinking about that night, she said. At the diner. So do I. Her eyes held mine steadily. You didn't hesitate, she said. You didn't try to impress him. You didn't try to compete. That wasn't my fight, I answered. You were. She swallowed. I've never had someone stand beside me like that, she admitted. I felt something tighten in my chest. You deserve that, I said. There was no rush in the room, no noise, just the low hum of the lights above us. Elena, I said carefully, that night when you asked me to be your date, were you joking? She held my gaze without blinking. No. The word landed between us. I didn't want perfect on paper, she continued. I wanted real. I stepped closer now, slowly, giving her time to move away if she wanted. She didn't. You could have walked away from all of this, she said. From me? I wasn't going to. Why? Because I think about you more than I should. Because I notice the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous. Because I don't like seeing you scared. Instead, I said, because I care. Her breath caught slightly. For me? She asked. For you, I answered. She searched my face like she was looking for doubt. She didn't find any. Her hand reached out slowly, resting against my chest. I could feel her fingers press lightly into my shirt. I don't want this to just be about surviving him, she said. It's not, I replied. She stepped closer until there was barely space between us. I want dinner, she said softly. A real one. No interruptions, no board meetings, no trackers. I smiled. Are you asking me out? Quote, yes. I did not look away from her. I'd like that, I said. A lot. And when she smiled back at me, it wasn't cautious. It wasn't controlled. It was free. Dinner felt different this time, not rushed, not defensive, not shadowed by someone waiting to interrupt. Elena chose the place. A small bistro near the river in Redfield. Warm lights in the windows. Soft music drifting through the door when we walked in. The kind of place where people leaned close when they talked, and no one cared who you were outside those walls. She wore a simple navy dress. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. Her hair fell naturally over her shoulders. She looked calm, not perfectly put together, just herself. When she saw me step inside, her smile came easy. "You clean up well, mechanic," she said softly. "You look dangerous in that dress," I replied. She laughed, and the sound hit me straight in the chest. We sat across from each other, hands resting on the table, not quite touching. There was no tension like before, no buzz of a phone between us. Her purse stayed closed the entire night. We talked about simple things at first. Work, Leo's bad jokes, the diner fries. But slowly the conversation shifted. "I didn't realize how much I was shrinking myself," she said quietly, tracing the rim of her glass. "For him, for the firm, for everyone." "You don't shrink," I said. "You stand." She looked at me with that steady gaze again. I was scared to stand alone. "You're not alone." She let that sit between us. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. Her fingers were warm, certain. "I don't want to go back to who I was before that night," she said. "The night your truck made that U-turn." "That was a good turn," I said. "It was," she agreed. It was the first time I chose something for me. The waiter brought our food. We ate slowly, no interruptions, no eyes watching through a window. Just the low hum of conversation around us and the river moving quietly outside. After dinner, we walked along the water. The air was cool, but not sharp. The streetlights reflected off the surface like scattered gold. She slipped her hand into mine without asking. "I kept thinking about what you said," she told me. "That I have a choice." "You do. And I'm choosing this," she said. I stopped walking. She turned toward me, her face lit by the soft glow from the lamps along the path. "Choosing what?" I asked quietly. "You," she said. The word settled heavy and warm all at once. "I don't want a backup plan," she continued. "I don't want safe on paper. I don't want someone managing my life like a spreadsheet." Her grip tightened slightly. "I want someone who shows up when it's ugly, someone who catches the glass before it spills, someone who doesn't make me feel small." I stepped closer, my free hand brushing gently against her waist. "You deserve someone who stands beside you," I said. "Then stand," she whispered. There was no dramatic moment, no music swelling, just her breath mixing with mine in the cool night air. I kissed her slowly, not rushed, not desperate, just steady. She kissed me back without hesitation. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead lightly against mine. "You know," she said softly, "this all started because my car broke down." "Best broken relay I've ever seen," I replied. She smiled. "And if it hadn't?" "I would have fixed it anyway," I said. "Just would have taken longer to get you here." She laughed again, then grew serious. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. "Good. Because I'm not running from this." "Neither am I." Quote. We stood there for a moment longer, hands linked, the river moving quietly beside us. The storm that had hovered over her life felt distant now, not forgotten, just handled. She wasn't the controlled, careful woman who had walked into my shop that first night. She was stronger, lighter, certain. And I wasn't just the mechanic who fixed her car. I was the man she chose. When I walked her to her door later that night, she didn't step away immediately. "So," she said, looking up at me, "does this mean you'll be my date again?" "Only if the car keeps breaking," I teased. She leaned up and kissed me once more. "No," she said softly, "this time, it's not about the car." And as she disappeared inside, I knew she was right. This wasn't about a broken engine. It was about two people who found each other when everything else tried to fall apart. And neither of us planned on letting go.